Hello everyone and welcome to Melyn Talks Masteries. I did a really in-depth video about a year or so ago on Masteries and what you should run for Zyra support. However, a lot of things have changed and I'm unfortunately a little slow in updating all of my content, but today we're updating Masteries, alright? So if you've been paying attention to my stream or my match history, you may notice that I run I don't want to say quite a few, but a fair amount of changes to what I initially did when I made my last video. I'm going to give you some context in this video about why that is, and also kind of detail, which is better. Are there options, or is there really only one thing to do? All right. So let's get started. So first, I want to preface this video with something that's very important. Let me pull up my notes so I make sure I'm actually talking about something important. Is how I play Zyra support and how I think Zyra support is meant to be played, because I think this is very important in how you make your decisions. And that's that I believe Zyra support is an early game champion. You don't play Zyra support for late game. If you're playing Zyra support, you need to make use of it early game. Otherwise, you're basically playing suboptimally. You're not really getting everything the champion has to offer. So all of these decisions that I make for my masteries are for early game in mind. Sometimes I'll do things like keeping in mind that, okay, this will also be good late game, but usually it's all about winning early and then I can transition into late game. But if I'm just playing to win late game, I'm really missing out on a lot of what Zyra has to offer, okay? So with that in mind, let's begin. So there are usually, there's kind of a few ways to go about this, but let's just start. Where am I putting 18 points? Keystone Masteries are really important, so you're going to want 18 points somewhere. Ferocity, Cunning, or Resolve. I guess your options are Deathfire Touch, Thunderlord's Decree, or those are your options, all right? I've done a bunch of theory crafting on Thunderlord's Decree versus Deathfire Touch, and Deathfire Touch is really only good late game. All right, so as is going to be the way this video is going to go, that means I do not prefer it for Zyra support. I think it is a bad choice, not only a suboptimal choice, but it is a bad choice to run Deathfire Touch. So I highly recommend you put 18 points into Cunning. Next question is, all right, where are my other 12 points going to go? And you kind of have two options, Ferocity, Resolve, or maybe you want to split them. This is a little harder. I like Ferocity. You can definitely go Resolve. 12 points in a Resolve is fine. And if you do that, then you're going to get Recovery, either Siege Master or Explorer, probably Explorer, Veteran Scars, and Insight. I don't prefer it, but if you want lower cooldown summoner spells, if you want extra health, that's fine. All right. Also, if you think you're always going to be hugging your turret, Siege Master is actually not bad at all, even though most games I would recommend going Explorer. All right. Anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about that because I don't recommend it. It's a fine alternative if you play that way, but I like going into Ferocity. So there's a few questions that we have to ask ourselves, but well, most of the questions are in Cunning, actually. Ferocity, it's pretty straightforward. You're going to go Bounty Hunter, Double-Edged Sword, or Battle Trance, all right? And I prefer Double-Edged Sword, and here's why. All of these give you increased damage, but let's look at how they give increased damage, all right? Bounty Hunter is increased damage for every unique champion you have killed, so that's up to 5%, all right? But at the beginning of the game, that's 0% extra. Double-Edged Sword is always 3%, but you're going to take 1.5% additional damage. Battle Trance is up to 3%, but it's going to take a little while for it to take into effect. You're not having long fights as Zyra in the early game, okay? Well, first off, let's throw out Bounty Hunter right off the bat. Bounty Hunter is good late game because you're, well, maybe not even good. Who knows how many champions I'm going to kill on Zyra. How I play Zyra support, probably a lot late game, all right? So Bounty Hunter is a fine choice if you're playing for late game. I'm not playing for late game. I'm playing for early game, so that idea is out of the window. So then it's Battle Trance or Double-Edged Sword. So Double-Edged Sword, they're both up to 3%, or Battle Trance is up to 3%. Double-Edged Sword is always 3%. So the question is, What is this 1.5% extra damage taken gonna do? Nothing for Zyra. 1.5% additional damage on Zyra is nothing. Most of the time we're full health or dead, all right? Very, very few times is that 1.5% chance gonna make a difference. However, we're very rarely having these longer fights early in the game. A lot of the times we just have poke. QW auto is a huge amount of our damage, and our all-ins that get long are very rare. So that's why I prefer double-edged sword. Natural talent versus vampirism, I think is pretty easy. Lifesteal and spell vamp's not going to really help us, but the ability power will help us a little bit. Fresh blood is fantastic. I don't think there's really much of a case to get exposed weakness. Exposed weakness makes my teammate do 3% more damage. This makes my auto attacks do so much extra damage early game. I did theory crafting on this a while ago. Your teammate has to do so much damage for exposed weakness to be better. Again, exposed weakness is better in the late game, but we're not playing for Zyra for late game. So if you want to play late game, which I think is a bad choice, but if you do, then you can go expose weakness. And yeah, sorcery is the obvious choice for the tier 1. So let's get into Cunning. There's a few more, I think, alternatives here and different ways of playing. You're definitely gonna want Wanderer. Don't go Savagery. It's not gonna help you Zyra support. All of these tier 2 are pretty bad for Zyra support, in my opinion, because I like to go refillable potion a lot. Secret Stash is the obvious choice if you're not going refillable potion, and it I think barely helps your refillable potion, but not enough to even matter. Assassin, you're almost never going to be alone fighting, hopefully. And Runic Affinity only really helps you for Baron buff. So get Secret Stash. It's not great if you're going refillable potion, but get it anyway. Even if you plan on getting refillable potion, get Secret Stash. And if you're not, definitely get Secret Stash. Recently, a lot of people have been asking me about Merciless versus Meditation, because I always said Merciless. I said, you know, you need to use your spells intelligently. Like, you're not going to run out of mana if you play smart. And extra damage is always nice. But really, it's only 3% extra damage when they're below 40% health, which is such a small case. However, Meditation is an actual tactile, noticeable increase in your damage because you get more mana. All right, so I did some number crunching with a few assumptions. So I put in, all right, how much does Zyra have? How much mana does Zyra have at any given level? And I'm assuming maybe I have about 4% mana, because that's personally I play with around 40% mana a lot. So every minute you're gonna get between 20 and 50, depending on a couple of assumptions of mana, which is honestly not bad at all. And very meaningful, I think, as opposed to Merciless, which is less meaningful. Both are good choices. I prefer Meditation. Both are fine. Again, another thing I get questions a lot are Bandit versus Greenfather's Gift. I think Greenfather's Gift is fantastic. 3% target's current health damage is a lot, especially early on, all right? And again, I play Zyra for early. Bandit is not bad, but it's not what I want. I looked at some numbers again. So let's look at Bandit. All right, this is where my notes are important, so I don't misspeak. Bandit gives you 1 gold for every dead minion you're around. And let's think about this the first 10 minutes of the game. That's the most important part of the laning phase, and thus the most important part of the game for Zyra support. So in the first 10 minutes of the game, assuming a normal game, what are you getting? Maybe around 70 to 90 gold from that part. And then you get 3 gold when you attack an enemy champion. So I thought, okay, how often do I attack enemy champions? I try to do it as much as possible, auto attacking enemies. So and since I don't like Bandit, I'm going to try to overvalue it. Okay. So I'm going to assume I auto attack and I get this Bandit proc 4 times a minute. That's pretty generous, all right? But in the ballpark, all right? Hey, all right, way too much. 4 times per minute. So if you include all of that, you're getting around 200 gold at 10 minutes. 200 gold is definitely not shabby for Zyra's support, but it's not going to make a difference, okay? not going to make a difference in your laning phase. However, Greenfather's Gift gives you a lot more presence in the early lane, especially when they're healthy. It gets them poked down so you can win the all-ins. So I think, again, Greenfather's Gift, it's where I'm going to go. It's where I'm going to get the power. Greenfather's Gift is going to give me a guaranteed increase in power, whereas Bandit is going to give me more gold so I can be a little more powerful later on in the game. I don't want to be powerful later on in the game. I want to be powerful right now. All right. So again, this is another one of those closer ones where they're both good, but I prefer Greenfather's Gift, and that's why. Precision and intelligence. Oops, I had it hovered the wrong one. Again, this is something that I've recently changed. While I was gone taking my break, precision got nerfed. It got nerfed really hard. 1.5 magic penetration plus 0.25 per level, okay? This is such an absurdly small amount of magic penetration. And you may say, Melyn, you always stack magic penetration. Magic penetration is better depending on how much you have. Like, the more you have, the better it is. But this is such a small amount. And honestly, when does this amount matter? This amount matters when you're against squishy targets. Like, if the enemy has no MR, this amount will do a small difference. If the enemy has some MR, this amount will do nothing. Okay? So this will basically only help me a little bit against squishy targets. However, I build so much early magic penetration and have so much magic penetration in my runes that I'm practically doing true damage anyway to these champions. So, you know, true damage is true damage. You can't do more damage than true damage. So I don't think precision is definitely worth. I don't think it's worth it to go anymore. And I don't build CDR. I'm not a big fan of That's not true. That's a misconception, and I may say it. I love CDR. CDR is fantastic. Why would you not want CDR? However, there's no good place for Zyra to get it as a support. Cooldown boots, not worth it. You miss on magic penetration. Morellonomicon, not worth it. You get way too late of the Leandries and you're really squishy. There's really no good place to get cooldown reduction from items except for Banshee's Veil now. And Zonya's if you're going to get that late. But that doesn't matter until late on. What really kills Zyra, and again, you don't need cooldown reduction for very much early game, but your ultimate desperately needs it. This 5% actually does go a fair way to reducing your very long rank 1 ultimate cooldown. So I really like this 5% now that I've been running it. I run this support, I run it mid lane. I think it's a better thing to do than to get a little bit of extra penetration. And that's why. I'm not even going to talk about Thunderlord's Decree. Don't get either of these, okay? Get Thunderlord's Decree. So those are the basics. So kind of giving you some insight into what I do, as well as provide some alternatives depending on play style. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me on Discord. Twitter and YouTube comments work a bit. Discord really is the best place to have a discussion because it lets me interact easily and it also lets other people interact and see the discussion as well. Discord link is below the channel if you have any comments or questions. Thanks for watching, and may your enemies feel the thorns embrace.